Hello, everybody. It's Taylor. It's been a while. I had to jump on today. So today we're going to talk about, and I'll tell you a little story about my day. Today we're going to talk about these things that I've been hearing a lot that are keeping people from kind of even taking action, or especially even setting their goals where they want them to be. So like the title of this live stream says, I'm speaking to those of you who have these little reasons in your head why you can't raise your price to what you want it to be, or why you can't have the income goal you want, or why the income you have hit or that you want to hit can't be consistent, right? Hey, Elizabeth, you are quick. You're on here really quick. I love it. Anybody else who's on already, say hi. It's kind of crazy how fast you guys are jumping on. Can't complain. Anyway, I'll be honest. You guys already know I mess with my hair way too much anyway, but today is one of those days where I wasn't really going to live stream, and I was just going to sit all cozy in the dark all day long and do work. You know, you guys know the difference between the days where you're like cranking out content, being visible, being on live stream. Oh, Emma's watching out for me. I like it. Versus where you're like sitting in the dark, or not even necessarily in the dark, but like behind your computer, like doing behind the scenes stuff. That's what today was mostly supposed to be. Which is why my hair looks really good for not being brushed. Am I right? But it hasn't been brushed. And the worst part about doing a live stream right now, I swear I'm not like massively hungover or hungover at all. This light is kind of hurting my eyes, so I'm trying to just like look at the camera, because literally even just the screen from my phone is hurting my eyes. Okay, let's share this into the group really, really quick, and then we'll get started. Watch if there is a thought in your head telling you that you can't hit your 10 to 20K. Okay. Shared. Awesome. All right. So I had to jump on because I hear this from people in my programs. I hear this from people in the group. I've been seeing it on this free coaching thread that I did like last week. And I just see this all over the place, right? And I'll be really specific. There's one that kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say triggered me, but like that triggered this, that was like, okay, I've got to get on live stream and talk about this, because all these people with these excuses, this is just not happening. Hey, Rosella. And that was actually the fear. December or the holiday season or whatever can't be my biggest month, or it can't be even that great of a month. Or some people even feel like I can't even make money in December because it's the holiday season, it's Christmas time, and people don't want to spend money, and they don't want to spend money on themselves, right? This is one I've been hearing a lot lately, and I have some others that I've been hearing too that I think might hit home more with most of you, but we're going to just start with this one, because this is one, like I said, that like really triggered this, where it was like, no. So just, here's my experience, okay? I've never believed this. I don't know why, because I was actually told as a kid that like winter is slow, because that's the kind of business my dad has, but not necessarily holiday season is slow. So I guess it wasn't really a story that way, right? So for me, last year, November was my best month, like doubled, right? It was like a huge month for me. So it was my best month. Like, my numbers here are a little off, but it was about double of what I had ever made before, okay? Maybe probably a little less than that, but about. And then December was even more than that. And then January was even more than that. And January has been, up until October, my best month ever in my business, okay? But still, November and December last year were both about 40K months. Guys, you even know this year, my easy number, my monthly average is actually above this, but like every month I will at least make 20K, 25K, right? Easy, good. So what's my point here? January of this year, 2017, was a $59,000 cash month, right? And then this year I've had other 50K months and 40K and whatever, but most of my months have been like at 25K. Anyway, so November, this is my point. So you guys know that's like kind of like an average easy for me this year. Last year in November and December were 40K months, right? What's my point? Last year, that number was like, it wasn't anything I was even ready for or even ready to keep consistent. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, how interesting is it that for me, I feel like November and December are like prime time of the year. And I've actually talked to some other multiple six-figure entrepreneurs, so people making $250 to $500K. And they've told me that actually the last quarter of the year is always their best quarter. So October, November, December, and compared to any other quarter of the year. So I just find it kind of funny, but also kind of like irritating that this is just kind of made up. And I don't know exactly where we get it from. I don't know why. I don't see anybody teaching that this is a stat to worry about, but it's true. People really worry about that. So I just want you to know that does not have to be the case. And even this November was my best month ever. And since January of this year, I have not been able to beat my January cash number until this month, right? Perfect timing on my journey. It's all good. But November, and it's the best month. And then December, this month, I think like now it feels like, okay, 60K cash, like I finally figured it out, right? Like, you know, that moment where like maybe some of you have been here with 10K or 20K months where you're like, yes, I finally cracked the code. I can so do this again. That's how I feel now. So my point is that you don't have to worry about the holiday season being slow. Okay. I don't care if you're traveling. I don't care if you believe for some reason people don't invest in their business that time of year. I don't care what you believe about any of that. Right. So one, that myth is busted. Okay. Let's just think of it that way. 'Cause it's true. If it can be possible, even just for me, even if I was the only business on the planet that was happening to, hit my shelf, even if I was the only business on the planet that was happening to, it can be true for you too, okay? And the fact of the matter is, I'm not the only one that believes this. I'm not the only one that sees this year after year, right? And I know people who've been in business for 5, 6, 7 years who have told me that Q4 is the best quarter always. And that doesn't mean that Q1 can't be amazing and that if Q4 isn't amazing, it's a bad thing. But do you get what I mean though? Like, you don't have to make the holidays the reason your business does not succeed. It is just a bogus excuse, okay? And I will say, some of the people I've talked to, and nobody take offense, but take offense if you want to, but I've talked to people who've actually easily given the blame. They're like, yeah, November or December, it was kind of a bad month for me, whatever, but it's because of the holidays, you know, people don't want to invest, so I'm not worried about it. That's just them helping their ego. Like, let's be honest. So if anybody has explained something to you that way where they're like, oh, I mean, I don't care if it's your coach, I don't care if it's one of your clients, I don't care if it's a friend. If anybody has told you that is the truth and that is a reasoning, that's just them soothing their ego or whatever we're going to call that. Okay. Thank you guys for all the hearts. Yeah, Rosella, exactly. Okay, let's talk about some other ones. And actually, I'll say this. If anybody watching, if there's something that you want me to address specifically, so if it's something that you know is holding you back, or even if it's just this annoying thought that you're like, God, get out of my head. I know it's not true, but it's still there. If there's any thought in your mind, any thought in your head that's telling you that you can't hit your income goal this month, or that the income you have hit or that you want to hit can't be consistent, or whatever it might be around, share it in the comments. I don't know if any of you are willing to do that or if you want to, but share it in the comments and I can kind of riff on it a bit. Whatever you think, you'll just prove yourself right. So you might at least think December can be a great month. Yeah, and you know what? Somebody was explaining it to me this way. I forget where this came up. I forget if it was a video I was watching or what, but I heard somebody recently say, it was one of these people who was talking about Q4 being the best quarter. And she's like, Q4 is always my best quarter. And it just makes sense because it's the holiday season. Everybody's spending money. Everybody wants to buy themselves stuff. They're gearing up for Q1. They're gearing up for the new year. So, quarter four is always going to be the best quarter, of course. And it was just interesting for me to hear her say it that way, because she had no thought in her mind of the opposite. And isn't it so funny how one person can say, quarter four is amazing, people want to spend money, they want to buy themselves stuff, they want to get ready for the new year, and then the next person can say, don't get your hopes up for quarter four, people are spending money on others, money's tight, they don't want to invest in themselves, it's just funny. It can be the exact opposite, one person to the next. I had myself down as earning $0 in December, as I'm not working with clients this month. I've already made a lot more than that. Oh, Emma, you're on here. That's so awesome. Yeah, exactly. And I have a client right now who, she was saying October was a 5-figure month for her, and she thought to have another 5-figure month. She just made up in her head, like she just made it up, that she needed to take November off and make no money, right? We've actually gotten to what the real fear is there, but she just made that rule up, and she's already had another 5-figure month this month, thank God. And she will have one in December. It's like a no-brainer. When I say this month, I mean November. I forget it's December 1st. But yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny that you realized you don't need to work with clients to make more than $0? Of course. I found myself watching Sabrina on a live stream feeling like, damn, she got to 7 figures in 10 months. What's wrong with me? It's an old pattern. I turned it around. Yes. Rosella, thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad that you just realized that, which it sounds like you already knew it, but so many people, it's so interesting how, again, you have two choices. You can look at somebody's success and go, well, I'm never going to be there, or what does that mean about me, or whatever. But then all these other people who do succeed, they look at it as, oh my God, that's so awesome that she did. Like Rosella, you and I and anybody else who hasn't made 7 figures in 10 months should be like, if Sabrina did it, I can do it. That's so freaking cool. There's proof right in front of my eyes that I can do that. But maybe you can riff on it for anyone else watching. Oh yeah. Duh. That's exactly what I think about it. It's just like, and here's my epiphany from this year. Like, some of you guys have heard me talking about this. I've been sharing this story a lot lately. I come from parents that are just chronically stressed. I feel it. Like, they love stressing out, and that's okay. And especially my mother, and that's okay. But the thing is that this year I realized, like, what's the point of even stressing and doubting and being in fear and all of that? And so I just started being so much more aware of when I was stressed and fearful and doubtful, and just started playing with the opposite. Because you know what? Even if mindset doesn't work, and if it's manifestation is all bullshit, and changing your thoughts is just, this crazy thing, which it isn't. But even if, like, at least it feels better to believe, you know what I mean? And then it does work, I promise you. So that's what I started doing, is just being really aware, where Rosella, I have totally had those same exact thoughts. Like, with people, there's somebody right now that we started our businesses around the same time. And to be honest, she started her business like a good 5 months before me. And it's actually very funny, because when I saw what she shared, she started her business about 5 months before me. She's made X amount of money in the past year. And I got a little bit competitive. And this was literally the last couple of days. And I found myself instantly, and I've always done this since I've known her. I've always kind of compared myself, because she's always been like a little bit ahead. And I found myself like, God, how come she's so much further ahead? We started at the same time, like, comparing us. And then I realized, I was like, wait, I've made that much. So it was kind of humorous, that it was like this natural habit that I had created. But also, it's interesting because it just showed that I was still seeing certain people as above me, which I think that all of that, Elizabeth and I have had this conversation, I think all of that is so stupid, but it is a habit a lot of us have, right? Especially for, I don't want to say especially for me, but especially for all of us in our own ways. And for me, especially, it was when I first started my business, you guys know, most of you, I felt like I had to do certain things to prove that I was good enough due to my age. So like I created this belief I had to fight my way to be seen as even worthy at all, right? Especially compared to other people, even though age now then it had nothing to do with it either, but in my head it did, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, other things. Anybody have any thoughts in their head coming up that made them think this? But, okay, let's talk about this one, because this is the one we were talking about with let's see. I love you guys on here, your comments. It's my default. In the last 3 months, some people have shared their numbers, and I was gobsmacked about how much I was actually ahead of these shiny, shiny people. Yep, exactly. You're like, oh, guys, I'm just going to say this, and again, I don't mean it as this comparison thing, but people that when I started out, I followed them, and they were making 6 figures, 250K, and I followed them, I took advice from them, and I just looked at them as these, like, gods, right? And so far ahead of me. And now some of them I've surpassed, and some of them have quadrupled their businesses. And all I've realized is, like, it actually has nothing to do with that. And our job is to keep reminding ourselves why we're number one and why we're the best, but not in a competitive way, but in a way where we can just mind our own business and show up confident. And, it's such a waste of time to question. And this could be another reason why you don't think you can hit your income goal. You might see me, right? I'm just going to throw myself out there. I've had 20K months this year, right? And 20K and above. So you might look at someone like me and think, well, if Taylor makes 20K months, there's no way I can, because look at Taylor's group and look at her list and look at whatever. I'm not trying to be cocky here, but whatever may pop up, right? I mean, I had a client one time tell me that she compared herself. She had a thought, and we were kind of joking, but she said she literally had a thought one time cross her head that she couldn't be where I am in business because I have, like, a prettier face and nicer hair. And, like, I was like, really? You think my hair looks good? Thanks. But we have all these ridiculous thoughts, right? So, that could be another thought you have, is, like, you may have these people you follow who are where you want to be, and you're like, there's no way I can be on their level. Like, look at them. And it could be a looks thing. It could be their numbers are bigger than yours. It could be, I've had coaches and I've had people that I looked up to where I was like, there's no way I can make as much money as them. They have so much better grammar. Did I just have bad grammar there? I don't know. They have much better grammar. They are so much more, like, poised, if that's the right word. Like, they just show up so much more, like, put together, And so I made that a reason I couldn't have 20K. You always made me feel like I started this business thing too late. I hear that all the time from people that are older than me. And literally, I hear that from people who are 25 and who are 55. And it's so funny because when I first started, I was like wishing I was in my 30s or something. Like, I don't know why 30s, but I just, like, was thinking, if I was just in my 30s, it'd be so much easier to be a coach. And, like, but both are total BS. It's not easier to be a coach at 20. It's not easier to be a coach at 30. It's the same, Hey, Jacqueline, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so that could definitely be one, is comparing yourself to the people that you admire and follow. The other one that I was just sharing about my client was that and it's come up again, but before she shared that, she thought she had to take November off because for some reason actually, this is exactly what it is. I know some of you have dealt with this, some of you live or on the replay. Your numbers. And I've gone through this a ton. It's like, you wonder, can I really keep up that consistent income with the list that I have, with the group that I have? Am I going to, what's the word? Wear out. There's a better word for that people use. But essentially, am I going to wear out my list? Am I going to sell too much? Am I eventually just going to run out of money, like possible money? And so people will make themselves take months off, or they'll make themselves spend months growing their list without selling, right? And actually, I'll tell you a story. It was advised to me partially. It wasn't said exactly like this, but the way I processed it at the time that made me go, oh, hell no, like, we're not doing it that way, was if I wanted to have my launch in January, this past January, it was an 80K sales launch, a 59K cash launch in a month. If I was going to do that I had to, burnout is a good one. What was said? I should probably take like October, November, December off just to grow my list, especially December and probably November too. Like, especially those last 2 months before, right? Like, just grow your list, just nurture your people, it'll be worth it, even though you're not making money or much money. It'll be worth it because you will have a bigger launch in January. Now, if I would have done that, maybe I would have had a bigger launch. I don't know. And it's actually not a bad thing. Well, here's the point though. Point is, I was like, nope, hell no, not doing it. And it was a little bit out of fear, so we'll talk more about this. But I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to not make money. That's terrifying. But the fact of the matter was, November and December were 40K months. By far my biggest months ever. And then I was a little bit short because I wanted to have a 6-figure launch in January. Also a bit short, but it was still a great month. And who knows how it would have worked out. It could have been the same size launch. It could have been twice as big. None of us know, and none of us even need to care about that. The point is, I made the decision that I wanted to make then, and I made a shit ton of money. That's still a 40, and then 59K month. That still feels like a shit ton of money to me, right? So the fact is, and then ever since then, I've still been making 20, 25K months consistently. I've had 3 months above 50. The list goes on. Every single month I've made money, multiple 5 figures this year. And I stopped growing my list this year in like January, February. I've spent not much money on ads at all this year. And if you guys have seen, like, my following has kind of slowed down because I burnt myself out last year growing my following, my list. I'll get back to it. But like, I've created a multiple 6-figure year without stressing about growing. My list is pretty large. My group is pretty large. Compared to some people, it's not. Compared to some people, it's huge. It's so interesting because your numbers matter, yes, and you can use them to figure out strategically what your conversion rates should be and all of that. And I love that stuff too. I find myself stuck in the middle because I love that, and it's kind of like a science, and math was always something I really loved. But at the same time, I start realizing how irrelevant it is. I know people who, like Roselle is talking about, I know people who are newer than me in the industry, way farther than me. I know people who have much larger followings that are not farther ahead than me financially. And I know people who are about the same that are it's just like, it's so interesting how relevant and irrelevant it is. But the fact is, here's what I tell people when they have that worry. Especially if it's around building their list or their following's not big enough, I'm like, okay, cool. Grow it and sell. Like, you can do both. And it's not, if your list is literally too small to get more sales, or it's literally too small to keep you at 20K consistent months, that's fine. Get to work, start selling, and start growing your list. It's not really that hard. It's just a decision. It's just a decision to move from overwhelm and stress to simplifying and taking action. Yeah, Mariana said she's totally felt like that before. Burnout's a good one, Mariana. I have that on my list too. I've had people, here's something I've seen. Elizabeth, I saw this happen to you, but it's okay. Not you doing this, but I just saw someone comment something like this on one of your posts, and I probably took more offense to it than you did. But when people ask things like, I'm just showing my slightly judgmental self. I swear I'm not that judgmental. But sometimes people will ask like, oh, well, okay. Some people will ask like, how much do you work, right? How many hours do you work per day or per week? Like, how hard is it? How much do you work, right? And then like yesterday, someone emailed me, and this is no big deal at all, but they emailed me and they asked, how much is your business expenses? How much do you spend in your business? To an email where I was celebrating my 60K cash month. Here's the thing. On one side, it's no big deal, because if you're going to hire me as a coach, I know, I was like, come on, Taylor, speed it up, because now Elizabeth is wondering what you're going to say. If you're going to hire me as a coach and you are concerned and you want to hire a coach who is following a model somewhat similar, or at least has values similar to you, right? And some people love working 12-hour days, and some people want to work 3 days a week, 2 hours a day. I don't do that, and I don't do that, right? Like, I'm in the middle. But so it's fine to ask that, right? And I wouldn't want to hire a coach who has no profit. Like, that's important to me, is to know how much profit my coaches have, because that's important to me. But a lot of the times when we ask those questions, or when I see people asking those questions, I know exactly what it is. It's because they're afraid that if they hit 10K, 20K, 60K in a month, they're going to have to work their ass off, or they're going to have to spend all of it on Facebook ads and an expensive coach and all of that. Here's the thing though, is that it really, really is a choice. And so yes, if you're going to hire a coach and you're kind of concerned about how much she's working, I would ask her. And I've had conversations like that with my mentors. I've never asked that up front because I hire mentors who are very open and they normally share that kind of stuff publicly, at least mostly. And then I've asked them in sessions, like, I'm just curious, like, what does this look like? Because comparing, whatever. But the fact is that you really do get to choose. You get to, I mean, it's the same freaking thing. There's people who work so much and make $1 million, and there's people that literally seem to not work at all. They work like a few hours a week or 4-hour work week, right? And are millionaires, right? So it's just like, I don't know. It's just kind of irrelevant again. And here's what I challenge my clients who are really struggling with working a lot is, because here's the thing, it's going to happen. If you're building a business, get ready to hustle and work hard, but also get ready to work hard to create the life that you want. Some people love working, right? Like, maybe this is something I'll grow out of, but I like working. And it's not that I want to work 12 hours a day every single day of my life. I hardly ever work a 12-hour day anymore, but I used to. But even now, I'm like, I couldn't imagine, like, not being totally hands-off on my business. I couldn't imagine it. And I don't even think I would want it. And maybe one day I will want it, and maybe it's a belief to shift. I don't know. But as of right now, like, if I could get to working, like, 2 or 3 hours a day, always, no matter what, like 4 days a week, instead of now working, like, 4 to 5 days a week for, like, 6 to 8 hours, sometimes less, that'd be great. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like wherever you're able to catch up to, whatever desire you're able to get behind. And then if you say that wasn't hard, they think you're lying to brag. Yeah, I don't know what they're looking for when they ask this stuff. But the fact of the matter is, it's a fear, and it's a really, really common one that people think they have to spend so much money to get there. And I've even seen people, oh, okay, I'm getting messages. I've even seen people comment on people's ads and stuff, like, they're like, well, I forget, I saw this recently somewhere. People kind of even saying publicly, and this isn't us, these are different minded people, but things like, well, I don't want to be that far in debt to get success, or I don't want to struggle that long to get success. That's just their story, right? Like, that's just what they went through. It does not mean you have to go through that. My definition of work is different to theirs anyway. Yeah, I totally get that. Like, I feel like I've been working all day today. Like, it's already been a long day, but actually not really when you think about how I've spent my time, you know what I mean? It's almost like I have this mix of, like, I feel like I don't work at all, and I feel like I work 24/7. And there's always boundaries to be made, and there's also, you get to enjoy it too. I think some people are just looking for a reason to, let your comment. I can't read or speak. I think some people are just looking for a reason to dislike you and not want to hire you. And they can contort anything you say, and surely not all are like that, just some. There are some people like that online, and you know what? They're on their journey, and they've got to figure something out. That's all I know. Yep. Oh, I like that, Elizabeth. She works a lot, but not hard. I love that. That's how I want to feel too. I want to work moderately. I don't know if I want to work a lot. I want to work moderately and enjoy it and not be hard. I like that. Okay. That's what I have. The last one I actually do have that I want to say is, it gets in our head. So you guys who are on here are like such badasses. So I'm thankful for that. But this can still go on for us, right? Where it's like, what is it? If something hasn't been happening, right? So this is the honest truth. When I had the $59,000 cash month in January, I made a conscious decision, slightly out of fear and disbelief, that I would not do it again for a while. And because the first thing that happened when I had that month, and I'm sure some of you guys have gone through this at different levels, or maybe the same level, but when I hit that number, I had this instant fear of, I'm just like, what are people going to think when this isn't my normal, right? So I caught myself celebrating, and then publicly, like to you guys, sharing it, and I had this thought cross my head of like, there's no way next month is going to look like this. You know, like I just knew it wasn't. And I made that mean something about me. So then, out of fear of that, I made a conscious decision that I didn't want that, and that I was going to make 25K-ish months and be happy with it. And, you know, I didn't even want to have those big months. And I just like, I had this weird attitude come out of fear of being judged. And I was like, well, if I make the decision not to do it, and I act as if, which is so funny because it was the plan anyway. I was planning to have a big launch, to have money in the bank, to set the year up for success and take time off. But you just get in your head. You guys get where I'm going? Can I keep this up? Yeah, can I keep this up? It's exactly what I wondered. And it wasn't ever the plan to keep it up. I didn't strategically think about keeping it up. And I could have. Now, even speaking this out, I'm like, oh, there's so many things I could have done back then. But it's just so interesting. I made this conscious decision that I was not going to even want to do it. And when I talked about it, I was going to strategically talk to you guys about it so that you knew that my intentions were to have a big launch and then to stay around 20, 25K, so I couldn't be judged and I couldn't be seen as not as good as I wanted to be seen as, and whatever, right? Well, the fact of the matter is, this year, very badly, I wanted to be having 50 or 60K months, like, consistently. And I didn't, right? Like, I had a couple, I had 3, and then I had like 40K months, so it's like 4 really high months for me. But it was just like, it would get frustrating is my point. So I would start a new month and I'd be like, this is the 50K month or the 60K month or whatever the hell stupid number was in my head, right? And I would journal it out and I would get so excited and I'd make a plan and I'd set the intention and I'd give the money a purpose. And then I'd catch myself thinking, how is it going to happen? You know, and not even how am I going to make it happen, but like, it hasn't happened yet, Taylor. The consistent 60K months haven't happened yet. You know, why are you getting your hopes up? You tried this last month, you tried it the month before, and it hasn't happened. And this happened, this didn't really happen with 20K clients, but this happens a lot with my clients with raising their prices. They're like, well, people aren't even paying 5K for my services. Like, how am I going to get them to pay 10? Like, it's hard enough to sign 5K clients or 3K clients or whatever, right? You know, when I raised my prices to 20, I'm like, well, I only have had a handful of 10K clients. Like, it's not like I've had, because when I was charging about $1,000 a month, I had 30 to 40 clients go through that program at that rate. You know, and my rate adjusted here and there a little bit. But like, at that kind of level of less than $2,000 a month, I had like 30 or 40 people pay me that. And then when I did 10K, I only had a handful. And so when I went to 20K, I'm like, I haven't even really proven that this is possible and that more people will pay it. And maybe, and I've actually made fun of in a nice way on a call with a client. I kind of like made fun of those words this sounds so bad. I kind of was playing around with the client when she said this to me of like, you know, I don't even know if people are going to pay for this. A client said that to me on a session. I'm like, wait, remind me again. And I already knew this because we've worked together long enough. I'm like, remind me again. Have you had clients before? And she goes, yeah, I have. But this is a different rate, and it wasn't that big of a different rate. This is a different rate, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so you're telling me that you have found everybody on this earth that is willing to pay for your services, right? She's a relationship coach in her own way. And like, you're telling me that everybody on this earth has already found you and hired you that's willing to pay for your services. And she immediately was like, yeah, that's stupid. So point of the matter is, where I'm really going with this one is, even though you don't have it yet, and this is something I have in one of my posts that goes out every so often, even though it's not yours yet does not mean that you're not worthy of it. And I'm still on my journey and I'm still in my process, and we'll see how things go. But what's so interesting is like hitting 60K in November, traveling 2 weeks out of the month, and like it felt very easy and fun. Like, it always gets easier. It's so interesting how I can look back on the previous months and you can see so clearly why you hit your goals at some months and you didn't others. And it just becomes so clear. Whereas in the moment, you can get so in your head of like, why is it not happening? Why is it not mine? When will it happen? Is it even possible for me, right? Like I've had that in my head before and I hear it all the time. But it does not mean anything. It doesn't mean that you can't have it and you can't have it consistently, or that you can't raise the price. You can't sign the client at that rate. It does not mean that. I've learned it time and time again. And when you get to the other side, you'll have this realization. And isn't it funny too, one of my coaches pointed out, she's like, well, how much did you make last year? Where are you at this year? What do you think you're going to make this year? Because I was like, I told my coach, this is so BS, but this slipped out of my mouth this week. I told my coach, I said, I don't feel like I've progressed at all since, like, I feel like 2016 and 2017 were the exact same. Like, I feel like I haven't really gotten better. I feel like I haven't, like, she was like, what, Taylor? Felt like my mom was yelling at me or something. But like, it's so funny how in the moment you can start feeling like that when it's so not true. So I'd reflect on that if you're going through that, or if you feel like that in your own way at all. Anyway, any questions? Thank you guys for hanging out. I don't think I missed any comments. But as you guys can tell, my whole point of getting on here was just share with you what's going on and the things that I've been hearing and the thoughts that I've been processing, and also just like literally the last thing I want you to know is if there's questions, type them in, but if not, I'll jump off after this. Like, no matter what, you can have what you want, and if it doesn't happen this month, who the hell cares? Move on with your life, keep going after it. You're on your journey, and even if it didn't happen on the date you wanted it to happen by, it's still happening. Like, that's what I've always had to remind myself. It's happening right now. And even if November wasn't the best month, which it was, but even if it wasn't, I still trust and know that what I did in November is going to help my December. And when I was a newbie coach, that's exactly what I would tell myself every single day. Thank God the coach I had would tell me this, and it's just stuck with me forever. She'd always say, isn't it so cool? Everything you're doing is working out for you. Everything you did last month is showing up. Everything you did last week is showing up. And so it's so cool because I'm such a short-term person, to be honest. Like, I don't like planning too far ahead, and I like being really in the moment with my business. But what's cool is that not only can you think long-term forward, you can think long-term backward. Meaning, you can think about how all the work you've done the past few months, the past few years maybe, is leading you to more and more and more and more success right this moment. Everything you did last year, I know everything I did last year is helping my business right now. Right? Even everything I did in 2015, which was a very interesting year. A very minimal success. Actually, there was a lot of success that year, but almost in a different life.